What's up to my co-host? How y'all doing today? What's going on, everybody?
Victory Monday. That's all I got.
It is Victory
Victory
Monday.
Monday.
And your team won yesterday too, Willie, right?
Victory Monday.
Those victories aren't as rare for you as they are for us, though.
Well, say what you will. We still got a dub just like y'all did. The
and
dub.
and the protege beat the coach that taught him everything he knows for the most part. Ain't that something?
That is something.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Sapphire, how you doing today after getting back from jet set?
Listen, man, it was I'm just so high on the fact that the Browns took advantage of the mistakes that the 49ers made. I'm so pleased with the defense. I'm ecstatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into that.
Wait,
So,
wait. I
what?
can't speak to Sapphire.
Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. I was just excited to get the show going. That's all.
What's going on, Sapphire?
Hi, dear. How are you?
I'm chilling on it, high on a victory that has now landed us at 300 or at 500 with a favorable schedule over the next several weeks. So
Okay,
yes.
okay. So we're both feeling the Victory Monday today.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
All right, you done?
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm just kidding. I'm doing good, Willie. I'm doing okay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just, excited about it was a busy weekend, excited about yesterday, as we often are. So, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. So yesterday the Browns, Willie, did you get a chance to catch the game or did you catch the highlights?
I caught the highlights. Yesterday was a busy day for me, but I made it home in time to see the Raiders play. So yeah.
Anyway, so overall, the Browns got a huge upset win. Pretty much 99.9% of all of America thought that the San Francisco 49ers was going to trounce the Browns. And, once we got to halftime, I forgot what the score was at halftime. Sapphire, do you remember the score at halftime?
I'm going to check that out for us right now.
So when they got closer, I believe it was 10-3, I think, at halftime, possibly. And or it might have been tied up at halftime. One of the things I said, we got ourselves a game, and this might not be a blowout. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the fact that San Francisco wasn't up like by 20 points by the middle of second quarter, I thought the same thing.
It was 10-7 at the half.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Hey, Water King Anonymous, we see you. I was thinking that, and I was like, you know what? This is going to be, I was like, they didn't, unless I don't get a chance to see San Fran play that much, because they're on a different coast. So I was like, this is something that is good for the Cleveland Browns, and most of the people thought that they were going to run away with it. Were they like a 15-point favorite or something like that too? It was ridiculous how much of a favorite that they were, but they were a huge favorite, and it was almost like I think Miles Garrett, said, "I don't want to say this is a David versus Goliath thing, but this is the way we look at it. This is the Cleveland Browns. They don't win much, but one of the hallmarks of this season has been the defense. If your defense plays well enough, they can keep you in the game. Not entirely sure what happened against." The what's that team's name? The Ravens.
Y'all lost.
Can you see my face right now, Willie?
Nope.
Thanks for the reminder. Thanks for the reminder. Hey, George, Max Crosby is a monster. Whatever, Willie. Ain't nobody thinking about you.
You asked me to come on the show.
I lost my point. He made me forget. Oh, I was going to say, I don't know what happened against the Ravens. Unfortunately, sometimes the defense, has a bad day. And also, you started DTR, the offense couldn't get anything going. So, obviously that went different. But, you plucked PJ Walker off the practice squad. Still ain't signed nowhere anyway. You plucked PJ Walker off of the practice squad. And he doesn't like the world on fire at all. But he was serviceable. He managed the game. And, they scored at critical times when they needed to. And shout out to Dustin Hopkins yesterday. Our special teams is not the best, but, we have a competent kicker. I felt like if he would have made that kick in the 47-yarder, it'd be a different story. And if the David Njoku, that hold didn't take place with Wyatt Teller, this would have been a different game. But I don't want to keep going. So, Sapphire, what are your overall thoughts about the game?
No, I mean, for me, game ball goes to the defense, right? And I like what you said about PJ. He was serviceable. When you think about your starting quarterback being out, you want to understand and feel confident what your backup quarterback's capabilities are. And I think, and I guess I'm shocked why PJ wasn't in there the week before versus the Ravens. He had a presence. I was watching from hundreds of miles away, but he just seemed to have a presence that was calming, right? Not only to me as a fan, but when he huddled up, he seemed in charge. He seemed connected. The players were giving him direct eye contact. They were committed. Like, that was different for me to see in our quarterback. And I don't want to start controversy because Deshaun is my guy. I don't know that I feel that same sense with Deshaun in the huddle. So I thought from that perspective, PJ was there to get the ball in the playmaker's hands. And, he had a couple of one-offs, but his offense rallied around him. I thought it was a phenomenal game. But a ball game, it goes to the defense, hands down.
Willie?
Well, there are a lot of, hey, Kate.
Hello, Willie.
There are a lot of things you guys can be happy about, right? And the number one thing is that it is hard to win in the NFL. And they did that yesterday. I don't care if it was PJ Walker, JJ Walker, or whoever else was at quarterback. It is hard to win in the NFL. Now, let's not just say that the Browns just completely and thoroughly just beat up and down. Well, they did kind of beat up the offensive line from the San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about this a lot. And somebody on this show, whose name shall remain nameless, said that the biggest offensive new face in a new place was the kicker.
What is it? What do they name Ryan with?
I'm not going to even say that, but I can tell you, without naming who that person is, they are the host of this show. And that person is the herd of the herd in the huddle. But let's not forget that San Francisco, they kind of left their energy back in Santa Clara or in NorCal or the Bay Area. And yet and still, their kicker, who missed 2 field goals in the game, had not missed a kick all year round or all year long, missed what would have been a makeable field goal in terms of had the weather been, up to snuff. So with all that being said, with the loss of Deebo Samuel and the loss of Christian McCaffrey, they did not return to the game. And, Brock Purdy was what, 50% or less on his pass attempts. This is the first time that he's lost as a starter in the NFL. All those things taken into account, it's still a victory for the Browns. And you guys have every reason to celebrate because the Cleveland Browns defense, if nothing else, is real. And they can stand toe-to-toe with the 49ers defense, with the Eagles defense of the world. And if somehow Deshaun Watson can just capture 75% of what he was in Houston, you guys might be all right.
Rachel, help me out. Did you just describe what it's like to play in the AFC North?
Yeah, and the swirling wings because I pushed that kick to the right. So welcome to the AFC North, baby. Hey, Kate, what we're doing, we're going over, overall huge upset.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about that? A huge upset against one of the, it was unbeaten teams in the league until Philadelphia went down as well. But what are your thoughts about that huge upset?
Yeah, so a couple things. We have one of the most difficult stadiums to kick in the NFL. because of the way it sits on the lake, because of the way the winds swirl into that stadium, even our own kickers have trouble trying to predict what it's going to do. It's a very difficult stadium to kick in. Yesterday for me was a statement game for the defense.
Oh.
If you take out the first drive and you take out the last drive, that was about as good of a defensive game as I've ever seen a team play. And I will put my defense up against anybody. I was sad that they let him even get into field goal range. I would have preferred the defense not give up that huge play to get them into range in the first place. If they'd have kept him out, I'd have been a little more proud, but I'm still proud of what we did. I told you that last week when we talked about how the Buckeyes were coming up on a trap game with Purdue. So this was a trap game for the 49ers. They better be on their game because we're going to be up for it. We're coming in off a bye. We're going to be up for it. Kevin Stefanski is very good the week after a bye. And they're going to be looking past us. I did a poll on the Our Turf football Twitter last night. Which upset was bigger, the Jets over the Eagles or the Browns over the 49ers? And the poll ended up being Browns over 49ers by like one vote. It was a 50-50 split. And I would argue that our win over the 49ers was bigger because we had PJ Walker in his first game of the season. I know they got a backup quarterback with the Jets since Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers went down week 1. Their quarterbacks had a few weeks. Wilson's had a few weeks to figure it out. And the Eagles have played everybody pretty tight this year, where the 49ers haven't gotten less than 30 points on offense all season. And we held them below 20. So I feel like our upset of the 49ers was a bigger deal. I think it definitely exposed the weaknesses with the Kyle Shanahan system. Once Christian McCaffrey was out and then Deebo Samuel was out, Brock Purdy had a very difficult time with our defense. I was surprised at the offside, the 3 offsides calls on Myles Garrett. And I was going to go back and watch the game again because, of course, I DVR'd it. I think their offensive line was kind of saying some stuff, doing some stuff to kind of get him to jump because he's got a very nice first jump. He's very good at anticipating that snap and when he can get into the rush. And I don't remember him having a game with 3 offsides. So they were doing something, kudos to them. They were doing something to mess with Myles, but he didn't give up and he didn't stop being aggressive. He kept going after it. I was very glad that we ran the ball as much as we did because that's what we should have done the week that DTR played. And PJ Walker is a very good quarterback, a very good backup quarterback. When he was with Carolina, when he was with the XFL, he did a lot of very nice things and had some success. Also had some injury trouble. I don't want to run the rest of the season with him because I think you give defenses another couple weeks to study film, and he's going to have a much harder time. But I will say his accuracy, when he missed people, I think there was only one that he missed a receiver like behind him. It was either short or long, but it was at least on target. And that's what we were finally starting to get from Deshaun Watson against Tennessee, is he finally figured out his accuracy and how to hit the receivers. Amari Cooper saved our bacon a number of times yesterday.
Yes, he did.
I'm super excited to have him on my team. Dallas should have paid that man. With all the problems going on with Dak and Dallas and everything else, CeeDee Lamb is not who they thought he was going to be. Y'all should have paid Amari Cooper. I'll take him.
And you know what, Kate, just to support what you said about the defense, the 49ers zoomed down the field, going 84 yards on 5 plays for their opening drive touchdown. And of course, with the help of 30 yards of Cleveland penalties. But the Browns D held San Fran to 10 points and 161 yards of offense the rest of the way. So, yeah, it was a phenomenal day.
That was the only time that they've given up an opening touchdown as well. But also one of the things that makes this win more impressive is I think that the 49ers have won 17 straight games outside of losing to Philly in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, straight. Aside from the playoffs, they were on a win streak. And they've got a very good team, but it reminded me yesterday when McCaffrey went out a lot of what happened to us when Nick Chubb went out. When so much of your offense relies on that one stud running back and he's out, that gives your defense the opportunity to really narrow in on Brock Purdy and on the receivers. Our secondary and our safeties did a very nice job. I was more frustrated after we got through the first quarter. They seemed to settle in. I was more frustrated with the officiating yesterday. The number of things they got wrong and had to self-correct was mind-boggling. They called a face mask penalty on number 20 of the receiving team half the distance of the goal, and then they huddle up and they're like, oh wait, my bad, it was on the receiving or the kicking team. Let's go back the other way. And then trying to say that Walker didn't have that first down when he did that spin move and got that first down, and then they go back and look at it and they're like, oh yeah, he did. There were a lot of missed calls and a lot of bad calls that they had to correct themselves. There were calls where, they made the call and then Stefanski's declining the penalty, and then once they went over and explained to him that the guy who announced it didn't say it right, this is what it really is. It was like, oh yeah, we're taking that penalty. Like it was not a good officiating crew yesterday at all. And I don't know that call against San Francisco, the defensive pass interference, the hit to the head.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of video replay, a lot of people putting up the video on Twitter claiming it was it still looked like his helmet hit his helmet. He may have, it's hard to see in real time, but even without that, I think we were driving and moving the ball well enough. We had plenty of time on the clock to get into field goal range. I don't know that penalty lost the game for them. And then they had plenty of time when they got the ball back. So I'm not letting 49er fan use that as an excuse. And I'm not using it as a reason why we won. We won because our defense took care of business. If you can hold the team to less than 21 points, that's the magic number for me. If you can hold someone to less than 21, you should be able to win that game because your offense should be able to put up more than that. Ours couldn't, but they held them to 17. I'll take it.
When you go back and take a look at that game, I want you to share your thoughts on the hit that McCaffrey took of 8-6 first quarter, because I knew it was going to be done then with him. He took a great hit. I'd be really curious to get your thoughts on that hit and how you think it may have impacted him for the rest of the game.
Willie, did you have something to say before we went to break right quick?
I'll wait.
Okay. All right. Hold on to that. We're going to go ahead.
Case tripping.
We're going to go ahead and take a break right quick. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
If you could find an old song by Jim Croce, it's called If a picture paints 1,000 words, then why can't I paint you? Because Willie is using a lot of ifs. San Francisco got beat down physically yesterday. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had Brock over there rubbing on his shoulder. Yes, I was watching it. I couldn't hear him, and he was like listen, they beat them physically.
Remember when the ball slipped out of his hand and it took him a minute to realize?
That was hilarious.
Because they didn't show it initially. They showed a little bit of the replay, his eyes, but then they showed it a little bit longer how he was looking. That was funny.
Yeah, I saw
there were quite a few camera shots in face in the fourth quarter.
It's different on the North Coast,
and that kid just looked like there was he was not happy.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. Remember, you can always listen to us online at WOVU.org. You can keep your radio locked right here at 95.9 FM. You can download that WOVU app so you can listen to us on the go. And then also you can always contact the station with any questions, comments, or concerns at 216-271-0959. And Willie, you said Kate was tripping. Can you elaborate on that some more, please, sir?
Yeah, she tripping hard. Look, not again. And I don't want Browns fans to start talking like Cowboys fans. I can't take it. That is exactly how Cowboys fans talk. Not to take away from the victory. And the Browns fan base is not nearly as annoying as the Cowboys fan base. But the reason why they say any given Sunday is because any given Sunday anything can happen. Now, did the 49ers play their best game? No. Did the Browns play their best game? No. Did the Browns do enough to win? Actually, they didn't. They didn't. Because last time I checked, the Browns didn't have the ball last with a kicker on the field with a chance to win the game. So really and truly, it's not like they snatched the the jaws of defeat from victory or whatever that stupid phrase says. This is the thing. The Browns played admirably, and their defense, as I said, is so real. But let's not get it twisted in thinking that they can play with the 49ers or be as competitive as they were these two teams to match up again. Now, I hear you back in the background, Sapphire, talking about Willie talking about ifs. I ain't said nothing about an if. However, injuries are a part of the game. If Deshaun Watson was there, who knows what would have happened? If Nick Chubb was there, who knows what would have happened? If was a fifth, you already know what it is. So, Kate, yeah, they scratched out a win. It's not that they really won. It's like the 49ers lost.
Yeah, and the Browns took advantage of that. I'm not disagreeing with anything else you're saying. But at the end of the day, the Browns, because of that defense, because the offense did make more mistakes than the 49ers, they won that game. And special teams help. That's it. That's it.
That's fair.
You think the crowd wasn't in that kicker's head? You think the defense wasn't in their head? You think the entire game of being beat down wasn't in their head? They're not used to having to win a tight game like that. They're used to being 30 points above their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
We did all the things that we needed to do to win. I barely have a running game. I had a running game yesterday. I had a quarterback in his first NFL game in at least a year starting on short notice. Thank you very much. I think we need to talk about this Deshaun situation because it's on my last nerve.
Yeah.
I will take all the credit for that win. I will take all the credit for that win. I don't want to hear that he missed the kick and they lost the game. We won that game. We kept it close enough so that kick mattered.
And Trent Williams charged out there trying to start a kerfuffle. He left in a boot.
He did. And that
game,
aggravated me too. Watching that pregame brawl
with
him dancing on the sidelines and going in and, chest button and pushing a couple Browns fans and then skedaddling out of the back and pushing his guys in and stepping to the side like it wasn't him. God loved the fan on that side of the field who got video of all of it. Yeah. All of it. Can't wait to see the fines coming down for that.
Yeah.
I would think Willie, someone whose team barely got by the most pathetic team in the league that are the New England Patriots. You got a lot of things to say about my Browns today.
A win is a win.
That's what I'm saying. A win is a win. I will take it.
But this is the thing, though, Kate. This is the thing. I don't want any of us to starting to sound like Cowboys fans. That's it.
I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I still don't even know that we can win the division.
Okay.
But I was proud of my defense yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a defense. Jim Schwartz wants this defense to be talked about and recognized across the league as one of the top three, if not the top defense, one of the top three. They needed that game yesterday to prove that to me and to themselves and all the other fans that they could hang with the big dog. And this was the biggest offense they've played this year. And they
already knew that. I think they already knew that. Look what they did to Joe Burrow. I mean, and they held Lamar Jackson somewhat in check as well. I think they already know that.
I needed to see it. I needed to see what I saw yesterday. We haven't played nobody this year. I don't know that my division is even that good this year.
Rachel,
Joe Burrow just can't beat the Browns. That's all it is. We beat ourselves in Pittsburgh. I think their defense scored more points than their offense did when we were in Pittsburgh. That Baltimore game was too close for comfort. We still gave Lamar way too many yards and I think he was 15 and 19 on passes. It's ridiculous. And then the Tennessee game, while it was a win, Tennessee ain't nothing to sneeze at. This is the first playoff caliber contender team that we've played this year. And I needed the defense to do something, and they did. So I am good with the win. I will never diminish. A win is a win is a win. We don't get enough victory Mondays in this town. I lived through 1-31, Willie. I had one victory Monday in 2 years. I will take this win and be happy.
Yeah.
I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm not Super Bowl. We're going to the playoffs. We're winning the division. I'm not that crazy.
Yeah. Did you say playoffs?
Playoffs, not this.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Yeah,
we
we
go.
got to get Deshaun back. We got to have him healthy. We got to have him right. And without that, we can't go to the playoffs. Not with DTR and not with PJ Walker. I'm sorry, not going to happen.
You mentioned Deshaun. What is the latest that you've heard about, the status of Deshaun's injury?
Still that it's a rotator cuff tear, a very micro tear. It's not anything they can do surgery on. It's just got to rest up and heal up on its own. My concern is how long that's going to take. And then is it going to be in his head? Is it going to be like what we saw with Baker, where he's afraid to really throw it because he doesn't want to overextend it. He doesn't want to actually tear it and then lose the rest of the season to surgery. It's one of the worst injuries you can have in my mind because, I've had frozen shoulder. I damaged my rotator cuff, not enough to need surgery. And it was 2 years before I could swing a bat comfortably. Like, it's a long healing thing. And I'm not a professional athlete. I worry that Deshaun doesn't have the competitive stones to say, put me in anyway. I get it. If you need a couple weeks to heal up, dude, sit down to heal up, but then just say they're still doing this day-to-day stuff. Just say he's out and it's going to be PJ Walker for the next couple weeks. And we'll let you know when Deshaun's back and not, let PJ have all the reps and all that kind of stuff. But I'm hearing it's not surgery warranting. Medical has cleared him to play, but that's because structurally there's nothing wrong. When they do the MRIs and they look at it, there's nothing that can be fixed. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing they can fix. It just needs time, and there's just no way to know how much time it's going to need.
Okay, so Willie, when you hear that, what she just said, like, what does that make you feel about Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback of this team?
If this continues for a couple more games, I believe that a lot of people maybe in Browns Nation are going to start regretting this fully guaranteed contract signing. That's not, you don't, that type of contract, dude, you can't, it's Super Bowl or nothing else. That's why they traded. It's not just the doggone fully guaranteed contract. How about all the assets that y'all gave up to get the dude? Mm-hmm. They're going to start regretting this way sooner than later. And
so we're regretting it through week 3, because he just wasn't performing well. And then in that Tennessee game, he was hitting receivers. Everything looked like it was like the rust was gone. And he was finally starting to look like 80% of the Deshaun we thought we were going to get. And I know it was the Titans, but still, he was starting to look good. And then they announced the injury and then the bye week, and now he's not playing. And now all the fans are backpedaling to, is this what we paid for? And it's not my money and it's not our money. We get that. The amount of abuse that we take in supporting a quarterback who has had the off the field issues that he has had, like, you're willing to suffer that abuse. I think we're all shallow in our fandom. I'm willing to take that abuse if he's going to play well, win me some games, and get me to the playoffs. And if he's not even going to do that, then why did I defend them hiring this person who's got a sketchy character?
So here's my thing.
Here's starting to regret already, Willie.
Here's what I'm thinking, okay? The question is, what is the downside, like you said, Kate, of the coaching staff just coming out and saying, this is what it is, and this is what the timetable is, right? What is the downside? Why is there all of this mystery? And what do you guys think about that?
The only downside is the gamesmanship they like to play with other defenses. So the defenses don't know if they're going to get like a slightly healed Deshaun, or if they're going to get PJ Walker, or if they're going to get DTR. So it's harder to prepare. Week 1, it wouldn't have mattered because all you have to do as a defense to prepare is stop Nick Chubb. Now we don't have Nick Chubb. So now you have a mediocre run game to worry about and a mediocre passing game, depending on who's throwing the ball. And so I think it's just a matter of their belief that if we tell you Deshaun's out for sure, and we tell you who the starting quarterback's going to be, it's going to make it easier for defenses to game plan for us. But I think the reality is they have enough people on staff. There are guys out there today on a day off on for the Indianapolis Colts digging up film of PJ Walker last year with the Carolina Panthers and starting to look at what he did. They know what Deshaun does. They're studying PJ. And by Thursday, they'll have a plan for either one. Frankly, they're not that different. I mean, that's part of the reason why we had him, right? They run the same offense. It's Kevin Stefanski's offense. So the things that PJ and Deshaun do are not that different. If you can stop Amari Cooper and you can stop, keep that run bottled up, don't let Ford break one loose, keep an eye on Hunt. I mean, those are the three people you got to worry about. And Njoku hasn't been the same since he burned himself. I feel so bad for him because when you're recovering from burns like he had, it's actually worse the longer you go after the injury as the skin's healing and peeling and all that's going on. Dude is gutsy as heck to play with the helmet and everything else on, considering what he's got to be feeling like. It looks like the Elijah Moore at running back experiment is over, and we're back to just using him as a receiver, which is what he should be. But there's not a lot to do as a defense to game plan for us. And I think a long-winded answer, Sapphire, to just say, in my opinion, they're just trying to not make it easy for other defenses to know who our quarterback's going to be, make them guess until the last minute and plan for 2 or 3 different options.
I mean, I hear you, but I think that's going to come at the cost of, like you say, Browns Nation. I mean, there's a lot of things at play here, Willie. I don't like to get too far off the beaten path, but, we've already had the coach come out and say the shoulder is structurally sound, so in our minds, you're like, buck up, get out there and play. But then again, you got to balance that against, well, if he does go out and his arm is not good enough and he's throwing, short passes or interceptions, like I hear what you're saying, Kate, but I just really think there wouldn't be a lot of downside if the Browns were just to say, hey, listen, a couple of weeks, this is our time frame. I mean, we're still early in the season. Willie, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I don't see any downside at all to just announcing it and having the fans start to rally behind. I'm going to go PJ Walker. I think DTR needs more time. He was a 5th round pick. He needs more time.
He's still on the psychiatric couch.
Yeah, he's still having PTSD from that game. But I don't see the downside. And I think at some point, they've never managed injuries well. I have complained to Rachel for years about how they manage injuries. When Baker was hurt, they let him say, yeah, I want to play. And then he got hurt worse. And now they're letting Deshaun say, no, I'm not ready to play. And then throwing him under the bus with that it's structurally sound comment. Because that's what it was. You could have said that in a different way. You know what I mean? You could have said it in a way that gave him the support of the coaches in the front office. I hope at the very least he's doing some mentoring, quarterback mentoring. He's working with PJ and they're having conversations and stuff. I know Aaron Rodgers was on the headset for the Jets yesterday, talking to him and talking to Wilson at times, and still is doing everything he can to help that team win. And I would hope that Deshaun's doing the same thing. I saw he was on the sidelines, watching and hopefully he's trying to help. But I think it would go a long way from a PR standpoint if they came out and just said, listen, we need a couple weeks for Deshaun. PJ's our guy. We're all rallying behind him. He's got this. He's getting all the reps. Fans relax. It'll be okay. And we move on with it. But we don't handle that well. We don't ever handle the injury stuff well.
I think that Deshaun is going to be out for 6 weeks, inclusive of the 2 weeks that he already had. When we talk about injuries taking a long time to heal, one of the things is you don't want, if you put him back in before, you don't want teams going after his arm. And that's exactly what they're going to do. I had an injury called gamekeeper's thumb, where it's funny, the origins of it, where people used to do something with like hinge or whatever, and they used to like pinch them or something. And so after that repetitive motion, it became gamekeeper's thumb. And one thing people try to tell me is I'm not 17 anymore. And I used to coach lacrosse and I would work with our goalies. And one day it was muddy outside. I was in some rain boots and I'm taking some shots on a goalie and my foot slipped out underneath me. So I put my hand down, splayed to catch my balance and prevent myself from being, prevent myself from falling. And the injury, the doctor had told me, I did some outpatient therapy and all that other stuff. And the doctor told me it was going to take a long time to heal. It took about 5 years years for my thumb to heal, for me to be able to grip things properly, for me to be able to take tops off of lids and all that other stuff. So when they say injury, obviously I could have all the time in the world, but Deshaun Watson can't. So, you want to let him, heal, rest, and
Well,
recover to the best of his ability and take it from there.
And this was arguably our most difficult week, maybe of the entire season. In the next few weeks, we've got the Colts, we've got the Cardinals that are 1-5, we got the Seahawks that are 3-2, and then we have the Ravens. If we give him 3 more weeks, that's 6 weeks out, right? 3 more weeks is the end of 6 weeks, and then he's back, because then we have the Ravens, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Bengals. Like, that's when you get back to the division games. If you want to have any shot of staying in this, I think Colts, Seahawks, and Cardinals are very winnable games without Deshaun. If we get the defense we got yesterday, and if we get the PJ Walker we had yesterday, maybe a little better chemistry with the receivers because they'll have more time, those are winnable games on paper. And then you can bring Deshaun back for the Ravens.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. I think we got a phone call and I missed it by accident. Nobody has alerted to me that they called in, so I can let them know to call back.
Are we going to the Indy game? Road trip.
You trying to go? When is that game?
Sunday, 1 bells.
I really want to go, but it's my granddaughter's 8th birthday, and they're having the party at noon at my house. I would feel like it would be bad if I didn't show up. Indy's not a bad drive. It's boring, but it's not difficult.
I got a filming on Saturday.
What's that?
I got a filming on Saturday. Sorry. Unless we left out Sunday early in the morning.
You ain't watching that Buckeyes game.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and we were getting it in with some Cleveland Browns talk. And let's see what we're supposed to talk about now. So that fight that was taking place before, do you guys think that was a motivator for the Cleveland Browns? Because, they were trying to show San Francisco, you're not going to be able to come and push us around in our building. And I'm not sure how it kind of even started, but do you guys think that played a part in how this team played, especially this defense?
I think they came to play no matter what. I don't think this defense relies on bulletin board material, but there wasn't a lot this week. So a week ago, George Kittle, tight end, went to Iowa, I believe, tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, wore a hoodie that said, had a bad word on it about Dallas and got fined by the NFL. So he comes into Brown Stadium this week with a hoodie on that says, "I love dogs," which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, because that wasn't about us. That was him telling the NFL, "Don't find me. I'm wearing a, family-friendly shirt this week." I thought it was hilarious. But other than that, there really wasn't anything going on. There wasn't any comments about the elf or anything like that, like we've heard from Jamar Chase and other people that we played. But there was a lot of attitude after that brawl. You should go look on Twitter if you can find it. Albert Breer and a couple of the other guys reposted some fans' video that they took in the stands. I think Daryl Ryder might have also. He was on the visitor side filming down there and got every bit of it. And it was a whole bunch of Browns and then Trent going in there and just really pushing him and then backing out. And it was just very disrespectful. I thought, this is not how you want to start the day. There wasn't no need for that. You don't want to start the day with that. And so I'm sure it made some of the Browns players, gave them a little bit of attitude. But one of the things I truly believe about Jim Schwartz and his defenses is he gets these guys up and ready to play on game day because it's their job and because they love it and they're excited about doing it. I don't think they need any extra motivation to kind of prove a point. And sometimes I think that can hinder a team when you start letting your emotions control what you're doing instead of your head. So I don't know that it added anything to it, but it might have. You'd have to ask one of them. I don't really think it did. I just think it irritated people pregame.
Willie, what do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, what works for one team may not work against another. And I don't know if it was a motivator more or less than, you're not going to just come to our crib and do what you think you want to do. We got more respect for ourselves than that. But I guess I don't know the ins and outs in terms of trash talking or the Browns team as a whole having different chips on their shoulders, except for when they play the Steelers and the Bengals. So I can't really say if I think it was a motivator or not. It was more or less, look, we just going to defend our house.
Sapphire.
I mean, I couldn't, and I was watching it on TV because I was out of town, but I couldn't figure out whose side of the field did this happen.
Oh, it was a visitor, so it was San Francisco.
So, I mean, just right there, right? Browns have their side, 49ers have their side. I mean, it's just, man stuff. I don't think it was anything. It's just happened. I don't think anybody should get fined. I mean, these are trained athletes, right? And there's a lot of emotion, a lot of testosterone. So I didn't see it one way or the other, to be honest with you.
All right, Jim Schwartz.
The NFL stays out of it because I don't think this is a situation where the NFL needs to do fines.
Right.
But I think the video, and I'm sure the teams videotape everything that goes on at the game, have their own video. I think the head coaches for both teams need to watch what happened and decide on whatever discipline they want to use on their players on their own and just let the teams handle it.
I don't even know how it started.
I'll send you, as soon as we're done here, I'll go find the video and send it to you. Like literally, he's walking down the sidelines and he's just kind of bopping along. And then he goes onto the field and bangs into a couple Browns players and they just start swarming him. And he backs up and grabs a couple 49ers and pushes them in front of him and then slinks away. And I'm like, wow, don't start.
Was that Debo that started it? Was this Debo? Huh?
What?
Was it Debo that started it?
No, number 19. Isn't that Trent Williams?
No, Trent Williams is like 71.
Debo's number 19.
Oh, then it was Debo.
Okay, that's what I
which might play into why he got hurt a little bit in the game.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Jim Schwartz is 9-1 versus Kyle Shanahan. What do you guys think about that? Sapphire, I'll take you first.
I mean, I just think our future head coach. I think he does his due diligence, and I think he knows Kyle Shanahan. Like we look at our players, he knows his tendencies, he knows his system. I mean, that's just it. He got his men ready to play. Everyone executed, right? They went out there and they did their job. So that's it settled for me. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, you guys, Kate.
I do not think Jim Schwartz is our future head coach. I got to say something. I think he learned the same thing that Nathaniel Hackett did. Head coaching is not his thing. I think he would rather be the best defensive coordinator in the league and just stay in his lane. He had a very difficult time when he was a head coach up in Detroit. And I think I am very happy with him running my defense. For the first time in a long time, I am very happy with my defensive coordinator. So I hope he stays there. But I think it's just a coincidence. I don't think, because it's all about your players and your personnel, right? You can be the best guy, have the best defensive mind in the world. And if your players don't do what they need to do, don't have the talent, it doesn't matter. So there are some of these coaching matchups, they try to make a big deal about stuff like this. I don't know that those work. When it's a players against players thing, I'll go a little there with you, but I just think he's been lucky that he's been on teams that have been good enough to beat Kyle's offenses.
That's interesting.
Willie?
Jim Schwartz is one of what, two coaches that led a team to a 0-16 record. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's redefining his legacy with what he did in Philadelphia and what he's doing now. I agree with you, Kate. He's got a good thing going. And sometimes it's just easier to not be the man. Sometimes it makes more sense to not be the man. And what he's doing with that defense, and I believe the defense is going to get better, believe it or not. I do believe they're going to get better as the season goes on, which is kind of scary in a sense. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's the future head coach of the Browns. He probably wouldn't even want that job.
We'll see, because I see him head coach. I see AVP being the OC. I just see it. And, to me, it's not all about the record. It's about what kind of impact does a coach have on a team? What kind of identity does that coach challenge his unit to have? Like, I go back to Deion Sanders, and what he says, we're still trying to figure out our identity. That's what we need to do. I think Jim Schwartz is that type of coach, leader. Let me put it like that. So, my thoughts.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to mention was about our defense while we're on the subject of Jim Schwartz. They've only given up a little over 1,000 yards so far, which is historic. Their pressures, they're keeping receivers in check. No McCaffrey, Deebo Samuels, they got injured. So it just shows you how physical that game truly was. But, what our defense is doing. Did they sack? Did they get the sack Brock Purdy yesterday? Because I don't feel like they really sacked him, but there was a lot of pressures and a lot of hurries. But I don't remember him coming down. I remember him escaping a lot of stuff. Do y'all remember him being sacked at all?
No,
he was sacked 3 times, or he was sacked twice.
Okay. I don't know what I was doing in because I'm like, I don't remember. But yeah, what the defense is doing is pretty impressive. The offensive performance, the running game got going a little bit against one of the best defenses in the league, and the line kind of held up. Wilkes, is it Wilkes? What is his name again? I can't. Wilkes, yeah, I can't remember. Thank you, Jared Wills. Jedrick. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with me today. Jedrick Wills did hold up and probably had one of his best performances of the season against. And also, commend the job at DeJuan Jones, what he did against Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa, they only called his name 2 times during the game. So I think he did a pretty good job on that side against, some people, are saying defense candidate of the year. So that's a good thing. But do you guys feel as if Canvas Stefanski finally put somebody in a position to be successful with PJ Walker? Because keep in mind, PJ Walker is on the practice squad. He had went 4-3 as a starter with Carolina. So now he's officially 5-3 as a starter in the NFL. But I feel like he did better than he did with DTR and put PJ in positions to be successful. Willie, I'll take you first.
I think there's an experience factor there with DTR being a rookie and this kid having played at a high level in the XFL as well. The XFL, yeah, it's not the NFL. However, you do get game experience on a level that's obviously higher than what DTR would have seen in the Pac-12. So yeah, Stefanski, you guys, I know a lot of you guys out there have issues with some of his play calling, and rightly so. But it just feels like with this particular kid against DTR being in the lineup, it's kind of like what we went through last week against Chargers with Aiden O'Connell. The promise is there, the ability is there, but he just wasn't quite ready.
Yeah, some comments right quick. Water King, this was a little earlier. Well, hard to win in the NFL. You guys had the easiest matchup ever because y'all playing Pats and still barely won. George says, I know I said it earlier, but couldn't finish my thought. Max Crosby is a beast for safety reasons.
That's funny.
Just like the Browns have Joe Burrow in a funk, Kyle has that funk against Jim Schwartz, and George also says also make Schwartz the highest paid DC in the league and keep him here. So I agree with pretty much all of that. But before we leave, let's get into some NCAA action. Well, you know what? Let's take a break really quickly, and then we're going to get back into Ohio State and talk about this matchup that they have coming against Penn State. So we're going to be right back. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOBU at 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOBU and 95.9 FM. We are going to get into a little Buckeyes action. One of the things we talked about last week is that this game, a game typically against Purdue, is a trap game. They play spoiler for us a lot of the time, and this time it kind of was a blowout. So my thoughts, I didn't get a chance to see the game because it was on Peacock. So I don't believe in buying apps. I know a lot of people have apps, but I'm like, forget all that, because those things, the cost of those apps could easily surpass your cable bill. So I don't believe in buying apps. So I listened to the game on the radio like it was the 1940s. So, you know, it is what it is. But George has a comment. He said, oh, by the way, you want to make Ohio State fans mad, put a game of theirs on Peacock and get the wrath from social media. Yeah, there was a lot of comments about the actual app itself, about, you know, the announcers didn't know anything about the Ohio State Buckeyes or anything like that. So I heard it was a very poor what's the word I'm looking for? Broadcast. Thank you. Poor broadcast on Peacock. But you guys, going into Penn State week, what are you guys thinking about how Ohio State is going to look against James Franklin and Drew Aller, who's a kid here from Medina that Ohio State did not recruit, and James Franklin was coming into Cleveland on helicopters to secure this quarterback. So, Sapphire, I'll take you first.
I mean, my mind goes to the health of our running backs.
Okay, yes.
That's all I'm thinking about right now. I'm waiting to hear about that, right? You know how I feel about McCord. I think he's progressing at the right pace, but we can't live and eat on that, you know, when we play Penn State, right? I want to know what our running back core is looking like.
Willie?
Yeah, I was going to talk about the quarterback. I mean, he's shown up, or he's grown up rather, since the beginning of the year. All those question marks that were out there about him, that game against Notre Dame really, to me, solidified that he is the man for this gig. And Penn State's going to come.
Thank you so much.
Penn State's going to come in. This is a rivalry game between the two of you guys. I understand that. I don't really know too much about Penn State, but how in the world is Marvin Harrison Jr. doing? Is he okay with the ankle injury that he sustained a few weeks ago?
No, he's fine.
He's fine. Okay.
He'll be going to the draft at the end of the season, and he'll be going top 10. So we got to make the most of this season while we got him.
I see that the Buckeyes are favored by 4.5. I don't know why. To me, that seems like a low line. Again, I don't know too much about Penn State.
It's at home. It's in Columbus.
Yeah, and I was thinking that it probably should be somewhere around 6.5 or maybe even 7.5. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know too much about Penn State. But I do know that McCord is having a really good season. Marvin Harrison is obviously the best receiver in college football, and his running mate on the other side, whose name I can never pronounce, they may be the best duo in the country.
And what do you say about their tight end, Stover? Are you familiar with him? Because I think he could be a real difference maker in this.
I remember you guys talking about the tight end. He's probably up there with Bowers, and Bowers is having surgery after what he did to his ankle against Vanderbilt this past Saturday. So that may propel him up to being one of the top 3 tight ends in the United States.
Tony says spoiler makers usually do the Buckeyes in, but they lost their head coach, a good QB to the NFL, and a wide receiver to the NFL as well. And can I just say thank you, David Bell, for converting on that 4th and 4, and actually, catching that ball and not being too afraid of the moment. So thank you for that. That probably was a key play to help us win the game. So, Kate, what are your thoughts about Penn State coming into Columbus this weekend?
Well, I'm not scared because we're at home. If we were at College Station, I'd be a lot more nervous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Ryan Day learned his lesson. This week I saw a very different start to the way the Buckeyes played football, not the way they did Maryland and even Notre Dame to an extent. He didn't let them get going and do what they want to do and then come back at them. We played Buckeye football from jump. So he's going to have to be aggressive this week. And they're going to have to go at it because this Penn State team is tough. But I think we got it. I'm not scared.
Yeah, they're calling for a red out this Saturday. So I don't know. I'm hoping Ohio State.
They had a blackout at Purdue. They all wore their black jerseys. They do a white out at Penn State. Like, what's with the red out? Can we just wear our colors? And they are.
I love the red though. I love the red. I love our black uniforms. I like our gray uniforms. They're all gray. So I'm loving the alternates. It's better than just seeing, the scarlet and gray pants.
Go ahead and get all buttered and lathered up with a victory over Penn State. We'll be waiting for you guys at the end of the year.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. We might surprise y'all though. That's one of the things. But obviously
it will be a surprise. It will be a surprise.
On your high horse when y'all got 2 wins out of 20 years.
I don't care about what happened 18 years ago. I care about what happened yesterday.
Well, all I know is I would explain it to you, Willie, but then people in the chat would fall asleep and then wake up when I was still explaining it. So I'm just going to be quiet.
Don't pay no attention to that comment. I didn't read it for a reason.
I think it's hilarious. And for 10 hours about sports. I did this show 1 week all by myself with no commercial breaks. It was brutal.
Yeah, I know. How did that happen? Where was I at?
You were out and Chris Styles and Miss Unicorn were at a meeting over at BBC that ran long and I was alone.
Was I out of town though?
We're out of town. I think you were in Dallas for something or Texas.
Oh, okay. George also says, by the way, how does the TT-UN rated ahead of OSU in the AP poll, but TT-UN played cream puffs and we went and beat Notre Dame. How about Notre Dame knocking off USC big like that? I think Caleb Williams probably lost the Heisman after that. So Michael Penix Jr. could possibly win the Heisman. He was wonderful at Indiana, but I guess, there was a reason. He was.
He did his thing against the Oregon Ducks though on Saturday. Boy, that was a great game.
I missed it.
Yeah, that was a great game.
Iowa Wisconsin game was good. I think. Oh, go ahead, Miss Sapphire.
Just real quick, Caleb was too busy trying to imitate Steph Curry. His head was not.
Or he had eaten too many Wendy's hamburgers.
Game win because it makes our win look even better. Like they can cream everybody on out. The more wins and the bigger wins they have, the better our win over them looks. But to answer George's question, Michigan beat us at the end of last year. And the reality is that's still in the mind of the guys doing the polls, and they will put Michigan above us until we beat them on November 20th.
All right. We got to get out of here in a second. But Tony says that USC's defense did them in again. Always been an issue for Lincoln Riley. I can't take his team seriously as CFP contenders until that is fixed. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for doing the show today. For Sapphire, for Willie, for Kate, you've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll see you